Howdy folks, welcome back to my shop. It's quite a mess. I got an Oldsmobile big block, I got a Jeep motor, I got another Jeep motor. I've got Oldsmobile parts everywhere. And I was at the junkyard getting more Oldsmobile parts. And I found this sweet little generator. It's a Pincore, something like that. 2000 watt. There's a little 120 outlet on the end. Picked this guy up for 25 bucks. And I'm going to see if I can make it run. The air filter looks like it's an old foam that's just kind of falling apart. It's just a mess. So I'm going to see if I can just get that all out of there. I'll find something new for it. I checked the oil and it looks all milky, but the carb all works good. It moves free. I haven't checked the gas tank yet. Maybe I'll get a pair of pliers. That cap is on there pretty tight. There it is. Get a first look in the gas tank. How bad is it? Yeah. Okay, I've seen worse. It's not rusty. It's just a bunch of my light's making it strobe funny. There we go. It's just got a bunch of nasty stale gas and a little bit of water in the bottom. That'll clean out. Well, I think first things first, I'm going to drain that nasty oil out of there. Get fresh oil in. Pop this gas tank out, get that cleaned out. And we'll see if this thing will kick off. I'm going to not touch the carburetor unless I have to. These little whatchamacallit, Briggs and Strattons that suck the gas up out of the tank instead of gravity feed. They're a little bit interesting. So this is your choke, and this is governor on this is set from factory. So yeah, windings in the generator all look to be decent. Looks like there's really no data plates on this motor, so I have no idea. But anyway, I'll tear into it and update when there's updates. Alright, I got me a proper drain pan, kind of propping it up with my knee here. Got this plug loose. Yeah. Guys, that's not what oil's supposed to look like. That's a bunch of water and stuff in there. It looks like coffee mocha or something. Chocolate milk, I don't know. Well, chances are we drain that stuff all out of there, get some fresh in, run it for a while, and just change it a couple times. And it'll probably be alright. It's a Briggs and Stratton. Ooh. If I pull the motor over a little bit, it'll come out faster. Get a little crankcase pressure in there. Alright. Yes. I'll get this stuff out of here and get the gas tank drained. We'll see what happens. Alright, time for round 2 on the oil. Got the gas tank cleaned out. I dumped all the gunk out. Dumped some fresh gas in, sloshed it around, and then dumped that out, so it's pretty clean. I squirted some, gunk engine cleaner down in here to hopefully kind of dissolve some of that nasty gunk. Not much in there. Okay. Run a little bit of oil through this thing. That's probably good enough for now. Set this drain pan on the floor and let that drip into it. Guess now all there is left is put oil in it and put gas in it and see if it runs. I think there used to be a kill switch hooked onto here. You just kind of push onto the spark plug. That is no longer with us. Unless this thing was for that, and maybe it's just kind of not on there right. I'm not sure. I gotta do a little figuring with that. But for now, I can just stick a screwdriver across to shut it off if I need to. Not sure if this thing has points or not. I maybe should check that. It might. Maybe they should be clean too. Alright, I forgot to video it, but I got this thing to kick off on brake clean. And it would only run on brake clean, so I pulled the carburetor apart. And this is not a gravity flow carburetor. These actually have a little diaphragm fuel pump. This is the diaphragm. It's in bad shape, but it might work. Anyway, and then they have this little return spring on it. And they have these little reed valves, reed style check valves. One of these was stuck, so that might explain why it wasn't pulling fuel. So I'm gonna put it back together. Oops, I'm gonna probably need to find that. Hey, look at that. Don't mind the Muncie 3 speed. Anyway, I'll put this thing back together. There's not much else to check on it. And see if it'll run. Alright, got the camera on a tripod now. Went and found it. I got this cover off the end of here. The recoil starter is howling. I was thinking for a second this thing was actually a Tecumseh because it has a Tecumseh spark plug, but this is 100% Briggs & Stratton right here. Anyway, these things right here get all grease inside, gets all dried up, and they scream like crazy when you get them to run. So I'm gonna, this has been apart before. Actually, ooh, that was supposed to stay inside there. I don't like how that's coming loose off of there. Mainly like how it isn't coming loose. Okay, forget that. I'll tighten that back up and clean that up a little bit. This guy right here needs to be cleaned up and re-greased. Take that last ball out of there, and that one. That way they don't get lost like the other one did. A little brake clean action on that. Slide this in there, kind of work it around a little bit. Get that old grease dissolved out of there. Cool. Hey, I just spotted the little ball that fell out. I am going to try to get that off of there. Alright, well, so I don't mess this aluminum up any worse. I actually just got a wire brush and used it as a hammering device. I am going to take this off of here. That way I can turn this upright to put it back together. So I can get all these little balls back in here. I don't think that cover, little sheet metal cover, was supposed to come off of here. This I think is supposed to stay on there. Yeah, good, you can't see what I'm doing. This is, I think, supposed to stay on here, and this is supposed to be a sealed unit. It's, well, I think this has been taken apart before. But anyway. There's a little felt thing in the end of that too. Make sure that's back where it's supposed to be. And I'll get some grease, which I had somewhere. I don't know where my grease went. I'll be back when I find it. As soon as I turned the camera off, I found it. Like right away. Okay, we're just going to get a little bit of fresh grease on that thing. That's more better. Try and hold that little cover on there. Try to keep that from falling off. Give this a couple good whacks. A little tricky because that cover is really trying to fall off of there. And I'm really trying to keep it on there. thing has to be good and tight, because that's what keeps the flywheel on, but I think that's tight enough. Now I'll put this guy back on. This should hold that loose cover plate on there. Keep that from falling off like it's trying to. It's just like pot metal aluminum type stuff, so don't make it tight. Get our recoil assembly back on here. I think that spring is just a little weak. Maybe a little WD-40 down inside there. Move up that plastic a little bit. Maybe a little bit there too. I'm pretty sure this is not the right way to do this, but it worked. And it is indeed not points ignition. If you're working on one of these engines, you got your little, where your flywheel's here, it's got magnets on it. Right there, that's your magnets. You got your coil here. This right here is your kill switch wire, which just goes out to this little brass connector there. If there's wires going down behind the flywheel, it has points. And there are not wires down behind the flywheel that I can see anyway. As far as I can tell, it's all right there in that coil. So no points to adjust or clean or anything, so that's kind of a plus. Get that on there, get that cover lined up. Get that lined up. Perfect. Get all these bolts back in. Get the gas tank back on, and we'll see if this whole thing wants to run. It'll run eventually. It's just a matter of how much grief the carburetor gives me until it does. Yikes. Screw doesn't want to start. Screw. It's actually a bolt, I guess. Okay. Oh, it picked up a little compression since last time I tried it. I had poured a little bit of transmission fluid down the spark plug hole, and that seems to have, oh, I almost forgot, I need to hook this back up. Oh, that's nice. I forgot to hook up this here carburetor linkage. What I'll do is take this one loose. Can't even see what I'm doing. I miss hooking up this little guy down here. And I don't really want to take the carburetor back off, so I'll take this little screw out. That way I can get the right angle and get that in there. I'll get our little spring hooked back up. Now I can put this screw back on. Perfect. Back on with the gas tank. Slip that through. that through. You're not going to be able to see anything because I'm going to be in front of the camera. But I'm trying to get this. That's probably not supposed to move. Huh. Gotta get this little spring hooked up. I'll be back. Okay, got our little governor springs hooked up. Get these gas tank screws in. Get that one gas tank bolt on the bottom in. And I'll actually video on this startup attempt. It's raining outside, but we're gonna go for it anyway. One last bolt under here. I didn't even cross thread it. I don't know where that's supposed to be. We're gonna say right there, I guess. I don't think that was supposed to move, but it did. All that'll do is change my output voltage and frequency, I think, which I can tweak it and fix that later if I need to. So, there we go. Outside we go to try again. It's kind of dark out there and raining, but we're going to try it anyway. Hopefully you can see what I'm doing. Alright, there we go. We got a light set up so you can see it. A little bit of my favorite starting fluid. Give it a little kick, hopefully. Yes, I'm wearing my safety Crocs. Shot. Hopefully it'll pull fuel up out of the tank. Gotta find a piece of wood to put it on so it doesn't just beat the bottom of this aluminum block into the driveway and mess it all up. So I will be back when I find that. Okay. Found a piece of wood. Also have a grinder. Good old Makita angle grinder. I'm going to plug that in there, and then I'm going to, before I turn that on, before I turn the grinder on anyway, after I turn the generator on obviously, I'm going to check voltage and see what this thing's putting out. Let's see if it'll restart. A little choke maybe. Move you guys out here so you can see the action. Got random sparks coming out. I'm not sure what that's all about. Well, that should have mixed up the oil a little bit. Maybe we'll change it again and see what it looks like. Looks like we're burning off some oil off the muffler or something. Not the end of the world. Haul it back inside and change the oil. Alright. Back inside, it's nice and warm, nice and hot. Not too hot, but warm enough. I'll get my fancy drain pan here. See what some warm Carburetor looks like coming out. Yeah, better than it was, but it's still some nasty stuff. I'll pop the fill plug loose so we can get some air to drain it out faster. Put my drain pan down on the floor. It's not as bad as the stuff that came out of it the first time. Yes, it's actually going in the drain pan. But, yeah, it still needs to be changed again. Alright, got some fresh Recoil in it. I like this stuff. Seems to work pretty good. Supposedly it has a higher zinc content than other oils. Anyway, for those of you who are curious, here's the data plate on this thing. 17.4 amps, 115 volts. It was putting out about 138 volts with no load on it, but I've seen some stuff like that before where the generator will put out a little higher voltage until you put a load on it and it'll pull down to where it's supposed to be, and it really doesn't hurt anything. 60 hertz, obviously. 2000 watts, 3600 RPM. Not bad. Yeah, I'm shaking like a leaf here, trying to hold my camera at a goofy angle. Made in Illinois. Pioneer Gen E Motor Corp. Kind of cool. No idea how old it is. Usually Briggs and Stratton's, which I think is what this is, contrary to the Tecumseh spark plug. All the Recoil starter stuff looks like Briggs and Stratton. This stuff here looks like Briggs and Stratton. Anyway, I don't see any serial numbers or anything of that sort on this engine. So I don't know how old this thing is. I really just have no guesses. No idea. Anybody watching this has any idea or knows anything more about identifying when a Briggs and Stratton engine was built, let me know, because I'm curious. But nonetheless, will it run? Yes, it will run. And yeah, it runs pretty good actually. This thing's a handy size. I can throw it in the toolbox in the back of my truck. And if I need power, I've got power. So yeah, pretty cool. All I need to find yet for it is a new air cleaner. This thing had a foam element air filter. I got it cleaned out now, but it was a nasty mess. It was that foam that just kind of like completely falls apart. And yeah, it was pretty disgusting, but I'll put that back on there so it doesn't get lost and keep random dirt out of it. But this little guy here is 100% complete, aside from whatever was probably supposed to be here to as like a type of kill switch, which I'll probably just make something for that. I can bolt something down under one of the head bolts or whatever, a little piece of metal to touch on that or whatever, and that'll work just fine. But yeah, 25 bucks and I don't know, hour and a half of work, and I've got myself a sweet little generator that I can run a grinder or a battery charger or maybe even my small welder off of. Might have to try that here on camera. Yeah, I'm gonna go get my little welder. We're gonna try welding with this thing. 2000 watts. I'm gonna do a little bit of math and figure out how many amps I can pull with a welder on it. Okay. Well, you can hear me like that about it. gonna happen here. Might not like it. Okay, it doesn't like that. It doesn't quite put out enough foam. But it'll run a grinder anyway, that's good enough for me. Alright, well now that I know it doesn't like the weld, oh, it goes backwards fine. Cool. Oh, we'll go with that stuff. 25 bucks. Anyway, that's about it for this video. Thanks for watching. And yeah, see you on the next one. See what other junk I can